tuned into Flipping the Birds, a Philly Sports Network podcast.
What's going on, Eagles fans? Welcome all to episode 11 of Flipping the Birds. I'm Brian Cameron alongside Chris Infante, and we have a special guest today.
Is it always just want to say hello?
Well, usually I thought Chris was going to chime in, but it's okay.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to interrupt the king.
Oh, you.
Oh,
Yeah,
the royal treatment.
Crashing in, saying hello, because, it's been a long road. 11 episodes now. I missed the Big 10. But I'm here, just going to give you a little soppy speech at the end. And everyone listening to this has been like, do you know what? I finally thought we found something on PSN where Liam's not going to ruin it. And that's, great.
Well, technically, it's been 10 episodes since you've been on. So it's kind of like, it is technically the 10th episode if you want to think about it like that.
If I had a streamer, I would pop it right now. Just like, woo, LJ's back.
All the confetti falling and everything.
Yeah.
So episode 11, we're calling this officially the Carson Wentz episode because, unfortunately, our franchise quarterback is under heavy scrutiny heading into the Green Bay game.
He's under siege. He's under siege by the thousands of comments on Twitter.
It's the worst type of siege. I mean, the fall of Troy has nothing on this.
No, it's this is the battle of 2019. The battle of 1812 does not have anything on this right now. It's some historical references for everybody out there. The War of 18. Sorry.
If this is the Battle of Troy, does that make PSN Achilles?
Who was the one in the film Troy that was Orlando Bloom? We can be him.
Okay.
Orlando Bloom. He had some good hair.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, don't get me wrong, Achilles was all right, but he does have the Achilles heel, and we're not going. We don't have an Achilles. We probably do. My fantasy drafting is the Achilles heel.
No, I think my fantasy team. I actually have the same record that the Eagles have right now. So if you guys want to let me win, then maybe it'll manifest and actually the records will match at the end of the season.
I say this very treading water because I might get fired after this comment. But Liam Jenkins is 3-0. He is the Dallas Cowboys of the fantasy.
Oh, why did you have to do
that?
I'm actually top of something for the first time in my life, and you just ruined it with.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're the Buffalo Bills. You are exceeding expectations right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take I'm exceeding expectations with the premise we all know eventually the wheels are going to fall off. But with that team,
because Derek Bobb is the Dallas Cowboys of the fantasy league right now. 3-0. The people who he has beaten are combined 2-7.
Oh man, ouch. I think I faced him this week.
Ooh,
is he Antonio Ono, whatever it is?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I faced him this week.
I faced the boss. I can't wait to beat you.
Oh, did you face me?
I faced you. I can't wait to beat you.
Me and my Saquonless team.
Yeah. See if Tony Pollard is available still.
Yeah, don't put me back on that.
Okay, so here's a big question, guys. Is Carson Wentz the issue with the Philadelphia Eagles right now? In my very, very unbiased and fair opinion, I'm going to boldly say no, just because since the beginning of not only last year, but also this season, I feel like Doug Peterson is stuck in limbo right now. He's like a hybrid version of Chip Kelly and Andy Reid, and he doesn't have his identity on this team right now. And I think that's really affecting the team as a whole because the culture is not as dynamic as it once was, and the offense is not as potent as it once was. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
Yeah, it's tricky. I don't think any of the flack should be on Carson Wentz at all. I mean, I've not watched. Okay, I tell a lie. The first half of the Atlanta game should be on Carson Wentz, but that was some bizarre, what looked like a mental block that he went through. Yeah. Outside of that, I think he's played brilliantly. And anyone that disputes that has either not watched the game properly or has looked at a box score or gone, Eagles are losing, therefore Carson Wentz, which is basically Carson versus Dak, the entire debate for the last 3 years has been, well, Dak can't do because he hasn't got receivers. Oh no, Dak has to receive. It's just flipping like non-stop all the way around. It's not Carson Wentz. There are so many factors that go into this, but the only thing I would put on Carson Wentz is I would like to see, especially after that article came out in the offseason and opened that window for self-reflection, that you've got a group of young receivers who are struggling with drops. So, it's not going to be forever. It's a few weeks. Maybe even Alshon comes back on Thursday, as we found out in practice today. So if that's the case, you're the guy. Go to that second-round pick who's got 2 catches for 14 yards and boost him up. Fill him with that confidence. That would be the only thing, but obviously there's no real way to grade that or see if he is or isn't doing it. So outside of that, which is a very, very small nitpick and something I would just love to see as opposed to something he's not doing, I don't think he's at fault at all.
Right. When people are talking about Carson Wentz and then they bring up Dak, like you were saying, then they bring up the whole wins and losses thing. And the last episode with Brian, it's such a flawed statistic.
They're not pitchers. I don't get that.
You look at Carson Wentz and yeah, they're right. The pitchers are pretty much the sole reason why a team wins or loses. The taking out errors in the game and things like that. Wentz, outside that Atlanta first half, like you said, he's been pretty much balling out this year. He's 6 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Both interceptions came against the Falcons, one of which came to someone sitting down on the ground. He made some questionable throws, but he's averaging the second highest yards per game in his career right now. His most was last year while he was on a broken back. His MVP season, almost MVP season, was 253 yards per game. Last year was 279.5. This year so far it's 267.7. And if those receivers caught those balls last week, that average is probably a lot higher than it is now because it's just taking out those passes. Like that JJ pass was 40 yards or so. That's average. That's adding more. That Aguilar drop from last week for the touchdown, that probably adds more. It's people are just looking at the final score and saying, "Oh, I guess Wentz didn't deliver again," when it's the complete opposite. We have so many issues plaguing this team right now. Wide receiver depth, it looks like Alshon's coming back. The depth in defense as a whole right now, we only have. I know they promoted Craig James, the wrong cornerback notification that I wanted today. But
unfortunately,
that
means there's only 4 healthy cornerbacks on the team right now.
You know what? On really quickly, sorry to butt in, but on that note, Chris, over the last week, okay, for those of you who don't know, so we've got a big group chat, okay, for all the PSN writers, and I swear, when you're a kid and you really want a Christmas present, like it's an Xbox or a bike, and you keep on, and you're never gonna get it, but you keep on dreaming. Chris and Jalen Ramsey for a week is every day.
I just keep changing my name on Slack, and I just when you can dream it, you can do it. So you dream that Jalen Ramsey is coming to the Eagles, it'll come. And to finish my point on this, someone on Twitter, let me get their Twitter handle so I can correctly attribute this to them. The Bless 3D1, THA Bless 3D1. He so I posted something on Twitter. Dave Zangaro tweeted out Jim Schwartz saying that Darby's going to be out for a while, and Sidney Jones or Rasul Douglas will be the outside corners. And then I retweeted it saying until Ramsey. And I know I've been nauseating on Twitter. I've been so nauseating on Twitter. I've been tweeting at Jalen Ramsey. I've been tweeting at other people, Jalen Ramsey. I've been tweeting GIFs of Jalen Ramsey over and over and over. I get it. I've been nauseating. But he said, this guy said, I've lost all hope and confidence in Howie to get this done. And I said, I kid around a ton on here about Ramsey, but I truly believe if something gets done, it'll be Monday or Tuesday because the Jags last played Thursday and had Ramsey play. Obviously, that turned teams off. But now the Eagles play Thursday. If there's a player from the Eagles going to Jacksonville, then they're going to see how he plays Thursday. Because the Eagles are not going to just sit someone, and then all speculation is going to come out. They can't afford to sit anybody right now, anyways. So he said, "Do you really believe we land them?" And I said, "There's no reason to believe that they won't reopen talks. You had the Jay Glazer report before the game on Sunday that the Eagles were pretty much really close to trading for Ramsey, and then Khan came in and said, no, I want to pay him. And then the flu came around for Jalen Ramsey.
And you actually called that too, because you said he was going to call out sick. I just want to point that out. In the last podcast, you said he was going to call out sick on Monday, and that's exactly what he did.
I am Nostradamus. So Jalen Ramsey's all of a sudden sick in September in Jacksonville. I guess it's cold weather down there for the flu season. Speaking of, I just got my flu shot for the first time in my life.
It's horrible, isn't it?
I hate it.
Yeah, I've avoided that almost all my life. I refuse to get one of those.
I was required because of when my baby is going to be born. The doctor said, your baby's born in flu season, you need to get the flu shot.
Understandable. Wow. Took one for the team. I'm proud of you.
I took one, and I got another shot. I got my tetanus shot today. But anyways, so I said, right now the team cannot afford to just keep healthy corners being Maddox, Douglas, and Jones. And then who knows when LeBlanc comes back, who knows when Mills comes back, who knows when Darby comes back. They cannot afford to have that, because for them to be in this win now mode that they're pretty much in every year, but this year especially, that you can't have they're talented cornerbacks, but you can't have that as your depth.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, because there is a bit of versatility. And the way I was looking at this a little bit earlier on today, because obviously now for me, my brand is soaring with Rasul Douglas and Ronald Darby out of the picture. It's just another day at the office for Liam. But I'm thinking if there is another cornerback injury, as long as it's not Avonte Maddox, they'll be okay, because they can move Maddox outside. Jenkins can play the slot. It's not the end of the world. It's more if Douglas or Jones go down, who unfortunately happen to be the two guys who have suffered injuries in the past and have done so, especially Jones at least, in quite a substantial way. So it's interesting, but I think Cravon LeBlanc's return could be important. That's a few weeks away. And obviously the shape of this defense and the teams they're facing over the next 6 weeks, that was the point I made today in my main feature article, if you will, was that you've got Minnesota, you've got Chicago, you've got Dallas, you've obviously got Green Bay, and you've got the Jets. That's 5. That's not easy sledding at all for anyone, whether it's offense or defense. So the sooner they can get at least a bit of confidence in the guys they've got, the better. My bold prediction is I think Jones and Douglas are going to do far better than any game we've seen this season on Thursday night. We will see less passing yards conceded by this defense on Thursday than we have in every game so far, because there is no Ronald Darby. That's a very bold take, but if it happens, that dodgy gif of the British guys coming back again.
And I definitely agree with that, because me and Chris were talking about it in the second half of the game when Darby went out. Jones and Douglas kind of got settled. They were doing everything, and Stafford was struggling a lot. I don't know if everybody saw the stats where Stafford was struggling under no pressure versus under blitz.
I think you saw the playoff secondary come to life there, because, this is pretty much mid 2018 all over again, when we lost all those corners, and then all of a sudden you got Jones in, you got LeBlanc in, you got Maddox playing more reps, you got Douglas playing more reps, you got obviously Josh Hawkins is not here anymore, but you had all these guys pretty much coming off the streets and then playing like garbage because they had no idea how to play together, but then they got into their groove into the playoffs. But so now really Jones and Douglas really know how to play together right now, and Maddox.
And they complement each other so well.
They complement each other really well, but when you throw Darby in there, it throws it all out of the loop because he wasn't in that rotation.
He's very inconsistent right now for them.
Yeah, he was never held. They gave him the Carson Wentz treatment from last year. They put him in way too early, and he showed his rust, and he was overcompensating, and now he's out. So
speaking about Carson Wentz again, let's revert back. So between Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott this season, Prescott has 920 yards passing. Carson Wentz has 803. Prescott has 9 touchdowns. Carson has 6. Both quarterbacks have 2 interceptions. There's only one major difference between both quarterbacks right now. Dak Prescott has only been sacked twice. Carson's been sacked 7 times in 3 games.
Ouch.
Is the offensive line the actual issue here? Because, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it on Twitter where the offensive line is giving up on a 3-man rush and Carson's getting sacked in the backfield. Or is it Carson just holding on to the ball too long? I feel like it's just so many things that are playing a factor, and it's so unfair that Wentz is going under all the scrutiny.
Do you know what? I think just to jump in before, I know Chris is going to come back with a really sound point, but someone pointed out in an article Morgan wrote last week, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but basically saying that it kind of goes back to the Andy Reid era where the starters don't practice together in preseason. So they go through a whole preseason, which is like a month of not just sitting on the sidelines watching, and it takes them a few weeks to get settled. So their preseason is like weeks 1 to 4, and if you look at how the Eagles start in the Andy Reid era, in this era now, like it's mirroring. It's a sloppy. It's always sloppy. There's always something. Like I can't remember a time in the Doug Peterson era where we haven't been angry about something in week 1 or week 2. There hasn't been something that's annoying us or that's grating on us a little bit. So it's interesting that someone drew that comparison. And
can I interrupt you quickly, please? Can I interrupt you? I'm so sorry. I just got a notification that says.
It better be Jalen Ramsey, or else you cannot talk for the whole podcast.
Multiple sources tell the painted lines. Now, I don't know how legit this is, because before I go into this, it said the author is Austin Krell, who has 1,600 followers. The painted lines. I've heard of the painted lines before. They have a lot of good bloggers out there and good podcasters. Before I tell you what it says in the tweet, he says, so a few things. The platform I'm a member of has a long view in mind, and means no system of revenue net. So I have no financial incentive to lie. This is merely info I received from someone and confirmed from someone completely unrelated. Will the trade actually happen? I don't know. The info, was this the package? The info I have says so. Here's his tweet. Multiple sources tell the painted lines that the Eagles have offered a package including Zach Ertz to the Jaguars in exchange for Jalen Ramsey.
Oh dear. Oh god.
Is that believable though? Like, think about it.
From a fact of just pure logic, where Dallas Goedert has been out of the picture, comes back, he's had 2 measly games, and they went through 1 week with 1 tight end on the roster. They're not trading Zach Ertz yet. Maybe end of the season, I get it, because he's going to be hunting for a new contract or a bump in money. But as of right now, I very much doubt it.
I do too. I just needed to put that in there because so many people, Eagles Twitter is going after this guy right now.
Your wife will go after this guy right now.
I know my wife will kill this guy if Zach Ertz gets traded. Oh boy,
I can't see that happening though. He's too much of a franchise cornerstone.
That's why I was saying all his stuff. He said his number 2 was I didn't expect people to want to lose Ertz, so I don't have clout to gain from lying. This is merely info I received. Was/is Zach Ertz included in a package for Ramsey? The info I have says so. And there's just people saying, posting the gifs of Elf, Will Ferrell from Elf, saying you sit on a throne of lies. And your fake news and all this stuff right now. So that's the current fake rumor going around right now. But sorry to interrupt you, LJ.
No, that's okay. It's a good point. I don't know anything mildly Jalen Ramsey, but I mean, even saying the name LJ, because it's got Jalen Ramsey, you might get a bit, flustered. You sort of expect that.
If you flip L and J around, it's JL, Jalen, JL.
Oh, it's all a conspiracy.
Conspiracy theories here.
Terrible. So back to Carson Wentz. How are we feeling about it?
How feeling about what? Him as a quarter, has him as the leader, him as the number 1, him as the number 11 of this 11th episode of Flipping the Birds.
Pretty much, yeah.
I think last game he showed what he's capable of, and once what receiving cores are at full strength, and I don't want to say full strength because, like some people have said, a really, really great not cornerback. See, Jalen Ramsey's still on my mind. A really great quarterback will elevate the players around him. And that's what he's been doing. And it's not his fault that these guys, it went through Goddard's hands right on that touchdown throw. And he kind of tried to catch it with his hands instead of basket catch. It's not his fault that JJ went up there and then let him go through his hands, and he's not the one who pushed off those defenders, Mac Hollins and Darren Sproles did. He was putting the ball where it should be, and that's what you can ask for. And once the offensive line gels together, and I know because really, like you guys were saying, the preseason they weren't practicing together. Brandon Brooks, his first game action was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Isaac Seumalo hasn't been the Seumalo of preseason. Neither has Vaitai. They lost 2 straight starting left tackles last game until Peters came back. Mm-hmm. Peters then Dillard. Apparently Dillard's completely fine, which is great. Because they're going to need all the protection they can get on Thursday from the new Packers defensive line. But Wentz has shown he's running less, which I like, except for that dive that he had last game.
I was so hyped when he did that, though. I'm not gonna lie.
But he kind of scared me there. I was like, oh no, oh no. But he's shown that he's being smarter. He is. People want to say, oh, you gotta let go of the ball. You gotta let go of the ball, but no one was open.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want him to do? I know you'd rather see him maybe throw it away instead of taking a sack, but he's
so
trying
much
to find
to do that.
Right, he's trying to find the open receiver, and there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks right now out there on Twitter saying he should have did this. Well, why don't you go try out?
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly Mitch Trubisky, is it? It's not horrific. I mean, this is a guy that's coming back off of a very bad ACL recovery period where it looked like it took the whole time 2018. Then he hurt his back. And again, I mean, I've already done like a mini breakdown of it, but you look at his movement in the pocket and the way he's navigating the pocket and the movement of his lower body, it's unreal. It's like 2017 Wentz all over again. There's nothing more he can physically do except maybe a few of the balls can be placed a bit better or a bit, higher or lower, whatever it may be. But overall, like, you're nitpicking. If your main criticism with Carson Wentz is he should have done that on that one play, you're fine. Yeah, you're absolutely fine because he's a guy that's dragging that offense down the field, out of hell and back at every game this year so far.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. So now, I think we all agree that Carson Wentz is more than borderline elite. But Thursday night, he's going to be facing against an elite quarterback who was in the same situation not too long ago where his team was 1-2. They were coming off a loss, I think, against the Lions, if I'm not mistaken. And then Rodgers came out telling everybody saying, relax. We got this. We're going to run the table. Yeah. So, Green Bay, Philly. How do you guys feel this game is going to go? I'll let you guys speak before I give my opinion because I really want to hear you guys first.
It's really tough to read because obviously from the Eagles' perspective, this is in many senses a must-win. And you don't want to brand it a must-win because it's week 4 and it's only a quarter of the way through the season. But the fact is that after this game, you've got the Jets team who could have Sam Darnold, whose defense showed, I think, a lot of character sticking around against New England, despite, them dropping 30 points early on. They really hung around and kept their team in the game. So you've got the Jets after this, the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Bears, the Bills as well. Like, it just gets very difficult.
Away in Buffalo, too.
Yeah, but it's 4 out of 5 away, right?
Yeah, honestly, it's tough. And if you can't get rolling now, this was that stretch of the season when you all knew. You assumed the Eagles would be 3-0 by this point, and you can drop one to Green Bay. And you'd be 3-1 against the Jets, you're 4-1. You can afford to drop one to Minnesota or Dallas if needs be, because at the end of the season, you've got those 4, the Washington game and 2 New York Giants games where you presume they're going to be easy wins. You don't have that luxury now. They've burnt out all of their 9 lives. And they're either going to come into Thursday night on the road on a short week off of a heartbreaking loss with so much gritty underdog character. It's 2017 all over again. And they will beat the Packers and it'll be great and the city will be galvanized. Or they lay an egg and we end up looking ahead to the Jets going, what is this team doing? And every week it happens, the worries get more and more poignant and the anxiety starts to get in. This, to me, it could be a season-defining game. Because if they can't overthrow Green Bay, it will be demoralizing because they're not going to let off the gas. They've got a good defense. I think currently ranks 5th in pass defense, so allowing 197 passing yards a game, which is bad.
One touchdown so far for the season.
Yeah, and then you've got a defense, which is great, and offense, which is putting up points. It's going to be tough. So I don't even want to think about predicting it. My gut is saying the Eagles go in there all fired up and make a statement and really get themselves on the board. Green Bay at 3-0, they can afford to drop one if needs be. they may not be as aggressive as the Eagles, and that could be the telltale here in terms of play calling. I would love for the Eagles to go in and make a statement. I'm going to say, for the sake of my sanity for now, that they do. That they go in and get... Cause anything else, I think, will be utter chaos. But I think they'll go in, they'll take care of business, and faith will be restored. And just for a week, we can have faith restored. We deserve a week of relaxation, okay?
Yeah, at least. What do you think, Chris?
So like Liam was saying, the Packers defense is so much improved that they're fifth in the league in passing defense. You know, they got Adrian Amos, they got Jair Alexander, they got those crazy talented defensive ends, Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith. But then you look at the flip side of their defense, they're very porous in rushing defense. They are 25th in the league in rushing defense. They've allowed 393 yards through those 3 games, so well over 100 yards allowing per game. They're averaging average of 4.9 yards a carry. So they've really focused in on that passing defense, but they're not guarding the runner. You know, so that's where, if the Eagles were to attack, and if you want to go in and, you know, take what Mike Groh said today about Jordan Howard and say, you know, they have a lot of faith in Jordan Howard, and then you see Doug Peterson say yesterday, they're saying they have confidence in Miles Sanders and all that, then this is the game that you need to show that, because this is the game that Jordan Howard needs to show that he has his history against the Packers. I thought that they were going to use him a lot more last week because of his history with the Lions, but he has very good history against the Packers. He has actually better history against the Packers than he does with against the Lions. The Bears were 1-5 with Jordan Howard when he was with the Bears, but Jordan Howard, his rookie in 2016, his first game, 7 attempts for 22 yards. Then he went 17 for 90. Then 2017, 18 for 53, 15 for 54. Then last year, 15 for 82 yards, and then 19 for 60 yards. That last game, 19 for 60 yards, was their first win with him. So really not, you know, Jordan Howard's fault of all those. You know, he has 3 touchdowns in his career against the Packers, but he's averaging 3.97 yards a carry against the Packers in his career. It's a pretty good average. You're going to get a first down. 3 carries of that, you're getting a first down every time. This is the time to use Jordan Howard and let Miles Sanders be the guy to spell him in situations. And then you look at the Green Bay offense right now. Aaron Rodgers has been very openly frustrated with their offense right now. It's not as great as he thought. It's really been the defense that's been carrying this team. Yep. The Green Bay Packers offense, Aaron Rodgers only has 592 yards passing. That's 27th in the league.
That's lower than Carson Wentz. Right,
much lower. And, you know, everybody can say, who's hearing this, they can say, well, he's probably gonna double that on Thursday against our corners. But the offense hasn't been there for him. 592 yards passing, 4 touchdowns only, no interceptions, however. So their offense is not going through Aaron Rodgers right now. It's really going through the ground game and their defense. They're 24th in the league in rushing. They're not much better at passing. But, you know, Matt LaFleur, who's supposed to be this offensive genius who knows, you know, Sean McVay, he's, you know, best friends with Sean McVay. He's supposed to show this, you know, continuity in the offense now, this innovative offense now, but it's not there. So it's up to what's really going to come down to is how the Eagles use Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders, and can they get the pass rush there? And I do think, of course, like Liam said, like we want sanity here because if we go 1-3, we all might go, you know, jump off a cliff. I do think the Eagles pull it off. I think it's going to be very low scoring, and I think it'll be like 21-17, 21-18. I think it'll just like a lot of Eagles games come down to. I think it'll come down to trying to keep Aaron Rodgers from getting in field goal position. 21-18 game, and they'll have to defend an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary that comes down completed a lot more times than it doesn't.
Okay. So I'm going to take you on a little trip down memory lane. So you guys remember the 2017 season? Obviously, everybody does. Throughout the 2017 season, the first couple games, everybody was saying, Philly hasn't beaten anybody worthy of, declaring Philly as the best team in the season. The Denver Broncos coming into town. They got Aqib Talib. They got Chris Harris. They have one of the most stout defenses in the league. And Philly went ahead and put up 51 points against a stout defense. Carson Wentz only threw for game. Oh, it was phenomenal. He only threw for 200 yards, 4 touchdowns. That was no Zach Ertz in that game. The running game, Jay had 8 carries for 77 yards. The play action was working perfectly in that game. I don't know if you guys remember the Alshon Jeffrey touchdown off the run fake to Ajayi.
Yep.
I think Philly comes out. This is going to be the Doug Peterson game. Forget the scrutiny around Carson Wentz. This is the Doug Peterson game because this is going to be a defining game not only for the season, but for Doug Peterson's tenure. You're going into Lambeau. Peterson is very familiar with Lambeau. He's very familiar with the Green Bay crowd. You're taking an elite quarterback who's not struggling, but your wide receivers are struggling. So now Peterson has to go back to the drawing board. He's got to look at the X's and O's. He's got to bring back so many things that he had that worked for him. And I truly feel like the Eagles march into Lambeau and they walk out with their heads high. I think, I do agree with you. I think it's going to be a close game, but I might go as far as I think it might be a touchdown away.
So many feels. It was so vivid. It was like I just snap back to reality a second later. I was like, oh, okay.
So I definitely
it reminded me of in Lord. Have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
When when Lady Galadriel pours the water into the sink and Frodo looks in it. That was that just then.
Terrible.
That's what we try to do here on Flipping the Birds. We try to paint pictures for everybody to
flipping the visuals. So I think obviously we all agree that the Thursday night's gonna be a statement game. Philly walks out of it alive. Alshon Jeffrey coming back is going to be a huge factor. I think Aguilar finds his hands, and I think we'll be in for a wild night. Hopefully a fast night.
Hopefully will they score more than 3 points in the first quarter. That'd be good.
Yeah,
they went from 0 to 3 last week, right?
Maybe 6 this time.
Hey, let's not push it, all right? If it comes in 2 field goals, it comes in 2 field goals. Beggars can't be choosers.
So now we're gonna get into Chris's favorite part of the show because he has not told me the results yet, which means he's grinning right now, smiling from ear to ear with the results of our pick'ems.
Yeah, so going into week 3, Brian and I were tied. 20, 11, and 1. Because he beat me by...
This is straight up, isn't it?
This is straight up, yes. We're not doing spreads or anything. We're not going to get that into, not into it. We're just going to pick who the winner or loser. So the week 1, Brian, we disagreed on 1 game, and he beat me in that one. Week 2, we disagreed on 3 games, and I beat him 2-1. Last week, we also disagreed on 3 games. And Brian swept me 3-0.
Ooh!
You thought I was grinning about myself. Now Brian swept me 3-0 last week. So I picked the 3 games that we disagreed on. I picked Tennessee, he picked Jacksonville. I picked Tampa Bay, he picked the Giants, and he needed a Danny Dimes comeback.
Wow, I actually picked the Giants. Wow, I did not remember that.
And I picked the Steelers to beat the Niners. And you picked the Niners. So I went 8-8 last week. You went 11-5. I'm sitting at 28-19-1, and you are sitting at 31-16-1.
Excuse me while I strut my stuff over here, just stretching out a little bit, So who do we have for this week?
So we're gonna do this quick. Green Bay, Philly. We both pick Philly.
So wait. Should we include LJ in as kind of like a?
Sure.
Oh, for 1 week only. I get to ruin
One week,
another thing.
it's like an exclusive.
He picks Philly too. All right, Redskins. We're not gonna put LJ on death row right now if he picks Green Bay.
No, go Philly. We'll go with Philly.
Redskins, Giants.
I'm going with Danny Dimes, baby.
Is it at Giants?
Yes.
I'm going to go with the fact that the Redskins are being battered slowly but surely, and the Giants are galvanized because Daniel Jones isn't a statue and can do things that Eli Manning can't, which is basically just, fundamental quarterbacking. And I think they're going to end up picking a role. Like, the Redskins are the one team they should beat this year now. Like, I think the Giants are going to take this one.
Yeah, could you only imagine the Giants being 2-2 and the Eagles being 1-3?
Oh, imagine.
Oh, man.
No, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe.
Yeah, that's not
Actually,
man.
I already had someone message me on Snapchat saying, "Can't wait for the Giants to be 2-2 and the Eagles be 1-3."
Wow.
All right, so I wrote down SD. I guess that means Chargers. They're not the San Diego Chargers anymore. Chargers at Miami.
Oh, Chargers.
Yeah, Chargers. Yeah, okay. I don't know why I debated that for so long. Yeah, Chargers.
Colts at Raiders. Raiders at Colts.
Colts.
Yeah, Colts.
Believe it. Justice for Jacoby. It's happening.
Kyle Allen at Deshaun Watson.
Wait, who are you picking? Because you're not saying nothing.
I'm agreeing. Well, if I disagree, you'll hear me disagree.
Just want to clarify. I don't know if you're writing little notes,
Carolina at Texans.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Carolina because Texas somehow allow more sacks than any other team ever. It's like Indianapolis with Andrew Luck all over again. So I'm going to go with, it's two really strong defenses. I'm going to just take, as long as Cam Newton doesn't look as lazy as he always does, I'm going to go with Carolina.
Well, it's not Cam Newton. He's out.
Yeah, he's out definitely now.
Of course, yeah. In that case, no, it's fine, Carolina.
I almost went with Carolina.
Okay. You're going with Carolina?
Yep.
I'm going with the man who rallied his team past the Los Angeles Chargers this past weekend.
Ooh, the Houston
I'm
Texans.
going with number 4 and number 10. Going with the Texans, baby.
All right.
Hey, I've got to try and make up this ground somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna gain one game on that. All right, this is gonna be an easy one for everybody. Chiefs at Lions.
Oh, duh, the New York Knicks.
Charlton Athletic. We'll go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, this is maybe a relatively easy one, but not as easy as usual. The Patriots at the Bills.
Ooh, I think it's a game of the week in my opinion, honestly.
I like that for a shout from Brian. Is it at Buffalo?
Yes, it is.
I think it'd be a massive letdown spot for New England.
Oh, you're saying Buffalo wins.
I think Buffalo are really hot right now. Their defense is good.
Imagine
New England has steamrolled people for 3 weeks, and they'll just be like, "Nah, we can steamroll these." And I think Buffalo will start hot, and then they'll only be a narrow lead, but they'll hold on and they'll win.
All right, let's see, Brian.
So it's funny because I debated about this with a customer yesterday, and he was telling me, he's a Chiefs fan. He was like, "Look, if Buffalo could just do what nobody's doing right now, just take the damn Patriots out." I'm motivated by that customer, and I'm going with the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I'm going to New England. I'm not being stupid. That's 2 games for me. Picking up. All right, I'm almost there. The Browns at the Ravens.
I'd like to say Cleveland because I think we saw the undoing of Lamar Jackson this week.
You better hope so because he's facing you in fantasy next week.
Let's go with Cleveland. Let's do the thing.
Oh.
#Believeland.
I'm going Michael Vick.
Yeah, I'm going with the growing legend of Lamar Jackson because Baker Mayfield he's not showing up on the right field.
All right, LJ's by himself in here. This is actually a pretty tough one just because they're both. We lost to one of them already. Titans at Atlanta.
Oh man, Game that doesn't make sense.
I want to let someone else go first because I don't want to set the tone. And then yeah, what are you saying? I don't want the cop out here.
I'm going Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll go Atlanta because Titans got beat by a guy with a mustache. I can't even say his damn last name right now.
I just love it in the broadcast were like Gardner Minshew, and I'm like, what?
Well, kind of like that's something you name your hamster.
I think. I mean, the Titans have got to do something at some point. I just don't think this is the game. Yeah, I'll go with Atlanta here as well.
So the Buccaneers at the Rams.
See, that could be like the Patriots game, I think, because the Bucs got really hot this week.
Yeah,
I know. I was on the receiving end of a Mike Evans fantasy team.
What was it, like 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns?
He had 3 touchdowns, 190 yards receiving, and 8 receptions.
I love how it scarred you that much. You remember the
I remember the whole stat line.
That's a wild stat line.
I'm gonna go. I'll go with the Rams. I think they'll be fine. It'll be okay. It's Jameis Winston against that defense. Yeah, we'll go with the Rams. I'm
going Rams as well.
Yeah, I'm going with my guy Cooper Kupp, Mr. Fantasy Comeback of Player of the Year.
Yeah, it's my ass. The Seahawks at Arizona.
Seahawks.
Yeah, I think that's a gimme.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
The Gardner Minshew. Garden Minshew versus Joe Flacco.
Oh, what a bout of heavyweights this is. I'm going to take Jacksonville, I think, just because if we're going to go 2 defenses, I think Gardner Minshew brings a little bit more to the table at this point than Flacco, and the offense isn't totally dead yet. Whereas, although Philip Lindsay is carrying it by himself for Denver, I don't know, I've lost too much money on Denver already this season, so I'm just going to go with Jacksonville.
I'm going with the growing legend of the new Nick Foles.
Oh, I'm going Denver. There's my 3rd game. I got you. All right.
Wow.
Vikings. Here's the defensive game. Vikings and Bears.
Who did the Vikings lose to
It
recently?
comes down to who do you trust more?
No, they beat the Raiders.
No, but they lost the week before.
They lost to
Green Bay, didn't they?
Green Bay, yeah.
I would say I trust Kirk Cousins more than I do Mitch Trubisky.
But do you trust Kirk Cousins more than you trust Khalil Mack?
Oh, my trust issues are showing. Oh dear. I think I'm going to go Minnesota. I just think with Dalvin Cook and those receivers and a competent defense, they should be able to outscore Trubisky, who maybe without Taylor Gabriel, he could be in concussion protocol now after last night. I'm going to go with a wild one. I'm going to go with the Vikings.
What are you doing, Brian? You said the Bears?
Hey, I'm going Bears because that defense is last. It was last night, right? Today's Tuesday?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, last night Khalil Mack looked like a savage, man. And it wasn't only him.
I'm going Vikings. That's the 4th game that we disagree on.
Listen, you were this cocky last week, and look what happened, okay?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I'm not.
All right, here we go. I already know my pick for this. Dak Prescott versus Teddy Bridgewater.
And the Saints. Ooh.
They finally face a team.
That's not really a team, though. It's Teddy Bridgewater, not Drew Brees.
Still got Alvin Kamara back there. And Michael Thomas.
I think.
Go on, Brian. Go on.
I think the Saints level down the Cowboys back to earth. They're due for it.
All right, we agree there.
I hate to say it. I'm gonna say Dallas.
We're gonna kick. All right, hang up on me.
sorry, guys.
He's conspiring with Derek.
I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I like Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's a great quarterback, and if he has a full year in a system where he's actually started like he will this year, by the looks of it, I think he'll be a great shoe-in to perform well next year. As of right now, the Saints are getting pushed around. A couple of weeks ago, where it come down to the field goal, and Drew Brees magically led them down the field after playing bang average for most of the game. Like, I don't know. I just think Dallas is a much more complete team with an identity right now. And if you want to marginalise and put it on Bridgewater's shoulders, is he ready for that sort of game against an offense that's going to score quite frequently? I don't know. I'd like to be wrong and say he is, but I'd play it safe and go with Dallas for now.
It's the battle of the game managers, and I'm picking Sean Payton over Jason Garrett.
I think Jason Garrett sees the ghost of Christmas future in Sean Payton. I mean, I know he signed a 5-year contract extension, but everybody in Dallas, they were like, we want Sean Payton. And I know they're like, well, we got Kellen Moore now, or we got Chris Richard, but to replace Mr. Clapper. But I think this is where Dak comes back down to earth after facing the Redskins. I mean, the Giants first. The Giants, putrid defense. The Redskins were putrid. And I don't care how many people are going to say, well, the Redskins were up 17-0. That was pretty. Dak played all preseason. And he's warmed up. It took the Eagles a little bit to warm up. And then you saw what happened in the second half.
It's just Dak has that offensive line. That's the big difference between the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. I will still
take our line over their line every day in the week and next month. Every day and month after that. I think the Dallas Cowboys line is 1A, but I think the Eagles are 1. But I think this is where Dak comes back down to earth after facing the JV team from the XFL last week. They will come back down to earth, and Dak Prescott will throw 3 interceptions, and Skip Bayless's head will blow up.
Well, let's hope that happens. Is that the last game in the slate?
Nope, and then we got the Bengals at the Steelers.
Damn.
You'd like to say Bengals because, the Steelers are a dumpster fire at this point, but the Bengals, the most unreliable team imaginable.
Which fire is bigger? Which is a larger fire?
I'm going to say Cincy because I've actually probably got something to play for and not in the idea of, season's gone. Like, they can salvage something here, so I'm going to say Cincy.
I'm going Pittsburgh.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh just because of Juju.
Because you don't want to be disagreeing with me for 5 games and then see.
No, because I'm looking at the numbers right now and like it doesn't make sense to pick the Bengals because they both suck. Let's be honest. It's just a battle of who has the higher dumpster fire.
All right,
I'll go Steelers.
We disagree on 4 games, and then I will be up by 2. I'll be up by 1. Sorry,
said the same thing last week.
Yeah,
what if I go 8-0? Do I have to mandatorily be a part of this show? Or
I think so.
Until you start losing, you have to. All right, guys. Well, thank you again for tuning in. Huge thank you to Liam for jumping on once again as well. Don't forget to subscribe, like, rate, comment, and definitely keep your eyes on PhillySportsNetwork.com for all your latest Eagles news. You guys got anything to say?
No, just thanks for having me back on. It's always a pleasure. I say always, it's been twice, but it's been a pleasure both times. And yeah, guys, just keep doing the great work. And I love seeing this podcast doing as well as it's doing. So yeah, just thank you for having me on and for being part of PSN because it wouldn't be the same without you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in for this special midweek edition of Flipping the Birds. And thank you, LJ, for being our leader and founder and all things beautiful and graceful in PSN. And
you're more than welcome, Flower.
Thank you all. Make sure you also check out the Teespring merchandise store for some great new apparel up there. And we do still have, and I know LJ forgot to run this by you last time. Just to harken back to before we go, our last podcast. And if you're listening to this, I already put this out on Twitter. I made a huge mistake in the previous podcast, and actually that Packers fan that I told you about, he called me out on it. And I made a huge mistake. And if someone listening out there, and I'm saying it now because we're pretty much at the end of the podcast now, so it means you have to listen to the whole podcast for you to hear this. If you can find out which mistake, and I will tell you right now, it has nothing to do with football, which was the biggest mistake that I made last podcast, you win a shirt.
I can tell you right now, you picked against me.
No. No. I made a huge mistake, and my buddy, he listened to the podcast. Thank you, Terry, for listening. He's a Packers fan. He's listening to us, and he called me. He texted me this morning saying, "I can't believe you made the mistake." And I said, as soon as I made the mistake, I realized it in my head, and I'm so sorry. Okay. So if you could find it, you get a shirt.
All right, so we're going to close out this podcast so I can hear what your mistake was outside of this podcast. So thanks again for listening, everyone, and go Birds.
Go Birds.